All right, welcome to August 23rd, 2025. I read the Clermont Sun so you don't have to. This would be the August 21st edition, dated on it, where the press deadline would have been August 18th or 19th. So let's get right into the weekly excitement of the Clermont Sun. We all love the Clermont Sun state media, where you pay for press releases from the government. So let me flip over. Here's the paper. Here she is. We got the obligatory something that appears that Megan Alley wrote a story. Apparently, the top news story in Clermont County every week now is an update from the Clermont County engineer. That's not at all formulaic now. I've said over and over again, maybe this is a great piece of content to have probably inside the paper with a map with a legend showing where things are on the map that are going on. But that would involve actual work, and we don't have time for that at the Sun. So, is what it is. All right. Now, the second big cover story thing here is a long ass article that starts here. The best is yet to come on this Liberty Landing thing in New Richmond. Okay. And so just to kind of jump around here, it's here. It is on all of page 2. And then it says, I think at the bottom of page 2 that it goes on to page 12. So let's go there and see how much there. Not 112, 12. Type it right. Okay, 12. Okay, we got another, like, look at all this space on 12. Okay. So this is literally like, like a page and a half, 2 pages of the whole paper is on this Liberty Landing thing. What makes it so exciting is that it doesn't really seem to involve interviews with people. And the Liberty Landing thing happened on August 11th. And so it should have been in the last edition. So if you had some, I guess at the Clermont Sun, what's exciting is even if you're the kind of columnist, which this Maria Vidaguela seems to be, you have some urgency. You got to get shit into the paper in the relevant time frame. Not like this is effectively like 2 weeks old news. And I like now they don't even say anymore where the pictures came from, because I was at this thing. You can go watch me interview a ton of people. I interview a ton of people at this of elected officials and so forth at this event. I didn't see any Clermont Sun there. I didn't see anybody from any other press outlet. There were cameras there, maybe like Channel 9 or something did some little, 10-second story or something. But I saw nobody trying to interview anybody, trying to get any information. But we got this long effing ass article. And, I'm going to go to page 2. I'll come back to here. These beautiful pictures, very exciting. Diamond Dave, baby, right in the middle there with the J.C. Penney attire. And then you've got Adam Bird just came off the road crew, or the starter at the golf course. Then you got Mike DeWine there. And then you just got some pictures here. And a lot of what this article is, I got to start getting dry heaves, but basically talking about Catherine Bailey. And I would love to interview Catherine Bailey, because what I hear is basically, New Richmond has gone through a string of administrators that basically are yes men or women, and it's like they're all so awesome. Catherine Bailey's so awesome. Hey, Catherine, why don't we do an interview about illegal turn-ons of electric and gas and you telling people to do it? Why don't we do an interview of that? And you can confirm or deny that you were directly involved with that. You can confirm or deny whether you were getting pressure from David Painter to do what was illegal. But I'd love to do an interview with you. The issue with New Richmond, and I'm going to say this again, you can go search on my Hicks Watchdog page and see old things. I think I even did a thing with Ken Geis on this. Until and unless New Richmond has new housing, and I'm not talking about an individual builds a thing up on stilts. I'm not talking about build something at ground level that's going to get flooded. I'm talking about the kind of thing that happened on Eastern Avenue, but probably more in a financial range that's appropriate for Clermont County, which is condos, like elevated condos. Bottom floor of the car is where you level with the ground is where you park your car. Condos up above, 3 floors of condos, 4 floor building. Put in a couple blocks of those. Bring in two to 500 more people along the river there. Beautiful, gorgeous view. That is the thing that drives things like bars, restaurants. So and if you think about it, it is so obvious that that's what drives these things. You need to have a clientele there that has disposable income to go to these places. New Richmond does not have enough people there with the disposable income to support the level of dining and entertainment that they want to support. You can't do it based on a percentage of it can be based on people coming there, like getting my wife and I, let's get in our car and go to New Richmond. But the reality is that those people that come there tend to come there sporadically. You get them at the beginning and then it peters out. Like you don't keep, you go to the new thing and then you don't go there as much anymore. But the powers that be in Diamond Dave, they keep pissing away money on dumbass ideas that don't do anything to address a bigger population of people with disposable income. And so all these things are flash in the pan. People buy bars and they think they're going to revolutionize, and then they realize it's not enough clientele. Remember, this place couldn't support a Frisch's. Okay, so it's so sad because to the degree people feel succumb to these gimmicks, and I think even this is a gimmick, okay, because it doesn't work this direction. I guess theoretically it could at some point, but generally speaking, housing and disposable income drive other development. Okay. And the kind of development the government should be focusing on, I want you to think about this, is that which generates significant jobs that can support families. This is not what this is. This is not what this is. And when you think about it in New Richmond, yeah, do you need a riverfront? Yeah, you need all that. You need all that. But more than anything, you need good jobs. You need people with disposable income and good jobs. And if you build a couple blocks to the east, there's plenty of land on each side of New Richmond to do this. If you build a couple blocks of elevated condos, brought in, 500 people, 200 to 500 people, gorgeous views, proximate to Cincinnati, not going to get flooded because you're up above. The garage part will get flooded. Very attractive. Very attractive. By the way, those people then aren't going to want 52 reduced to a one-lane road with roundabouts all over the place, because those people might be people that want to commute downtown. I mean, it's such a beautiful location for that, but these people there are so dumb. I mean, the government there is so dumb. And frankly, the people that oppose the government are dumb too, okay, because they can't galvanize people on these simple concepts. It's like an idiocracy. It's like the movie Idiocracy, Clermont County version on all sides. Okay, so I'm going into a tangent there because it's just so sad because New Richmond has such potential, but here's the next flash in the pan. Here is the next flash in the pan. Let's get a riverboat. Let's do this. Let's do that. You need disposable income and good jobs. It's that simple. You need new people with disposable income and you need good jobs for people that are there. But the elected leaders, basically the people there, let people fake them out with nonsense. It's not going to do that. And by the way, why is Bob Lee's, okay, how many years do you get to be the person that's going to drive an unbelievable renaissance and not do so before somebody else? You have to say, oh, you're a great guy. You're a great guy. You really care, but don't work. Okay, we got to move on. Your ideas aren't working. All right. So now I really went on a tangent there because it's been so many years. Here's the next gimmick. Okay. That's not going to work. Okay. Then we go Clermont Sun style into the submitted content. Okay. Submitted content about a treasurer in New Richmond, submitted content about Goshen. I got to get, on the one hand, I get my hands off the Goshen. You would think Goshen is the biggest school district in the whole and most important in the whole county because they have the most coverage in the Sun. Why? Because the Sun just reprints press releases. And Goshen gets on the ball and sends in their press releases. So the 1,100 people that actually read this paper in printed format can do it. there's obviously an online constituency, and then maybe some people buy it at retail, but I don't think that many do. And say press releases. Okay. Now I'm going to go past this. This is page 2 of the story that about the Liberty Landing. Now we're on to the typical community calendar page and the Sudoku page. Um, I always look to see when is the first event. The first event in the calendar is today, and so that's good. That's good that the first thing is in the calendar today. It is not past due in the past. Okay, Jungle Jim's ad. Okay, now we're into the opinion. My friend John is back again with another article about the VA. And you know what's interesting to me? I was reading this article, and the it's talking about the VA, and I'm not a veteran, and being the largest healthcare, blah 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 blah. Okay, and I don't really know. I'm going to go learn how VA care works more because I'm not a veteran. I've not been engaged with a veteran that's had to deal with the services of this place. But it strikes me that you have veterans, and we have a lot of veterans that have had significant issues from the forever idiotic wars that we've had them go fight, both mental issues and physical issues. Then you have a lot of veterans that are in and out. And I don't know on this, the veterans that are in and out in their medical care, I don't know how that works for them, but it just struck me the VA is the largest healthcare organization in the world. And what does that say exactly? The largest healthcare organization. So it's larger than Medicare. Where is this coming from? I got to go research this. The VA is larger than Medicare. I can't believe that. A very small percentage of people were in the military. The VA is larger by what? By dollars, by bureaucratic resources, by locations. What makes it? So I want to dig into that a little more because, frankly, we're bankrupt as a country. We need to take care of veterans, and the VA, I think, would be, and maybe it is, focused on veterans who have suffered injury, mental or physical, as a result of their service. Those veterans that served that then had no injury, mental or physical, they should be hopefully coming out of the military, be able to get good jobs, being reliable people, and be covered by the regular healthcare system that all of us, the employer-based healthcare system that we would have. So I want to learn more about that actually. So it's kind of piqued my interest just by him saying the largest healthcare organization in the world, and the Secretary Collins talking about we're just about being about healthcare. Okay. And so let's come back. Now we've got basically, I believe that Megan probably spends more time, Megan Alley probably spends more time picking liberal articles to put in than she does doing news stories. But anyway, there's these things I didn't even really read these because it's just like we just pick up. It's kind of like the newspaper being press releases from the government, and we're going to see more of that here in a second. But then we just pick up editorials from people that have no connection to our area, and we have not localized at all, and we just throw them in here, and they're not germane to anything going on in our community. Okay, so there's a lot of things going on in our community that are worth editorializing. And by the way, I don't think the Sun even has editorials anymore because that would their own. Normally you would have the paper has editorials because I think they're too lazy. And the question is chicken and egg. Do you get more sales? They say, well, we don't have enough sales to have people that do anything. On the other hand, you don't have the quality to generate sales to do anything. So, Scott Champion, I don't really understand this whole thing. It's like, I don't see how it makes money and other than through the payola government ads. And I think that will eventually end because I think eventually the government will quit doing that. They'll change the statute. Okay. So there's a couple editorials, and then writing tips for rural leaders. So if you're some dumbass hillbilly in Clermont County, here you go. You got your writing tips for you can figure out. Well, when you're mad about the Cracker Barrel changing this logo, the condescending Clermont Sun is going to tell you rural people how to better write. Okay. Now we got death, humor, living unknown. I don't even know what this is about. Some Chicago artist. Who the fuck cares? It's just, I mean, just stupid. And then this is the best one. There's just this brazen anti-Trump editorial in here. So listen, look at this guy, Dick Pullman. I mean, that great first name, Dick Pullman. Okay, Dick Pullman. Look at the guy. Looks like a D nozzle. Okay, and it says the first paragraph: raise your hand if you're shocked that Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein's flop sweating wingman, okay, has been trying to blame his metastasizing scandal on Barack Obama. What is this guy fucking talking about? Okay, so Donald Trump, the history of Donald Trump with Epstein. I don't know what happened with Donald Trump, but I do know proven parts of the history is Donald Trump kicked Epstein the F out of Mar-a-Lago, and they never had anything to do with each other because apparently Epstein abused or was trying to abuse some staff member at Mar-a-Lago. Okay. So that is a fact. Okay. Now, I don't know. They hung out at parties. I mean, Donald Trump was a playboy. I don't know what happened there, but it is an absolute fact that Donald Trump got rid of Epstein from his circle when there was some incident involving Epstein at Mar-a-Lago. It's also fact that Donald Trump was part of going to the police about Epstein when there was a cover up of Epstein stuff back in the day, way before the stuff that we talk about, that Trump was involved with the authorities. It's hard to understand. That doesn't mean by the way, that doesn't mean that Trump didn't do something wrong at some point with Epstein. I don't know. But to act like, Trump was his wingman, when you have people like Bill Clinton, who were actually really the wingman based on look at the flight logs, look at this. This guy, why would we have this article in here? Okay. And does Megan, hey, Scott Champion, what kind of fucking idiot paper is it that puts articles like this in here and read Clermont County? Get a leash on Megan, make her write a show. How about get Megan to show she can actually write a real news story? I don't think she can anymore. Okay. So this just goes on about ranting about Trump, and it's all this like, it's like a Russiagate type thing, like just all this implication. Okay, we'll say flop sweating wingman. Okay, metastasizing scandal. What is the metastasizing scandal involving Trump? This is just crazy. And that it's in there says a lot about Meghan. Nobody in the community, our community is not this. Hey, but maybe, you know what? Frankly, if Meghan could figure out how to get the libtards to buy this paper, they'd sell more papers. She can't even get them to buy the paper. Okay, nobody buys the paper. 1,100. When I tried to buy it, last time I went to buy advertising, there were only 1,133 or something like that print subscribers. 1,133. They sell it at retail at like 3 locations, a very few number of locations. They wouldn't tell me how many actually get sold at those locations. That's top secret. Okay. Now, by the way, they're supposed to have audited numbers, so I don't know how this happens. And then there's people that have the online edition. And that's what I have, get the online edition. And I don't know if those people, how much they look at it, or whatever, what have you. Okay. And so now, oh, well, that said, let's get into sports here. Jake Dowling. I was heading, well, when I went to Batavia School today, their schools a couple days ago, they were practicing, or like, you could see teams were practicing on the fields. I thought, oh, I should go over there just to see if Jake Dowling's over there because I want to meet this guy because it's the only redeeming part of this paper is Jake Dowling. Okay. And so you got articles on, he might have been there. Dang it. There's an article about Batavia. No, I think it would have been, he would have get these pictures before that. So Jake Dowling, he's got just look at this guy. He's got, oh shit, I went to the wrong page here. What am I doing? I'm losing it. Here we go. You got this article on Batavia football, new football team. It says from Sun Sports staff reports. That could be a press release. I don't know. Kentucky Barrels. I'm probably never going to see them. Who cares? Okay. Something with West Clermont in there. Amelia, Jake Dowling, orthopedic surgeon, new athletic physician, Jake Dowling. Hey, McClung, this guy should sign a thing. He's not going to diddle any kids, because at Milford, I think anybody that goes to Milford, we should be suspicious of because somebody told me one time that I'm not making an aspersion on this man at all. I don't know who he is. I just want to make a dumb example here. You see, if you go watch my videos, that Milford doesn't have any sense of urgency of dealing with adults sexploiting students. Full stop. Milford Exempted Village School District has no sense of urgency to deal with adults sexploiting students. Think about that. You know what that does? That sends a message to pedophiles and perverts. Go volunteer and do shit at Milford because they seek it out. Somebody, there was a thing on long time ago involved with the school. I don't want to go into detail, but somebody was telling me about this. Is that the perv community actually has like their own little secret chat boards where they figure out where are the schools that have don't pay attention, where they can get away with stuff. That's how sick and depraved it is. So I'm sure Mr. McClung is not is I'm not making an aspersion on him at all. So he's a great guy, but he should be somebody in his role, athletic physician. He I'm gonna say this guy's an honorable man. I don't think about him, but I assume that he's an honorable man. He's the one that should be saying to him, hey, before I do this, I want you to make sure your protocols and policies to protect students from sexploitation by adults are in place for a couple of reasons. One is to protect the students, one is to protect the adults and to protect adults from false allegations. So, for example, I'm going to give you a real quick example. When my kid was in Boy Scouts, the Boy Scouts had a policy that a leader could never be with a Boy Scout in a room, for example, out of view of other adults. Okay, there always had to be a second adult, or they had to be in view. So when they would do like where the leader had to have the reviews with the boys, with an individual boy, they would do it as there's that St. Veronica. Like on one side of the cafeteria, there'd be a table and the boy and the leader. On the other side, the rest of the people were meeting. So there was never a time when the leader was not in view. It was not like they went off to a classroom together. And those are the kind of things that protect kids. Make sure that you never have certain situations that there could be a false allegation, or there could be something happen, or provide an opportunity for something to happen. I want to say one other thing about it that's off color a little bit is, when you get into the high school range, a lot of the kids, they are developed, and, so the the I don't I think any males or females, any adults should not want to ever be in a situation with these kids where there's not a second adult, for example, around, because if nothing more, there could be false allegation. And but Milford, their school board doesn't seem to care. They literally don't seem to care. It seems like probably your kid getting exploited by somebody at Milford is that's too bad, but we need to protect the school. That's the way the board seems. We can take 3 months to figure out. I mean, it doesn't take 3 months to figure out whether something happened between a wrestling coach and girls on the team. That's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And by the way, just so you know, the authorities cover up for these people. Okay, power protects power. Power protects power. Okay, and so they protect each other unless they absolutely can't. And that goes for any situation where you have an institution of government, for example, investigating another institution of government. They protect each other. Okay, so I'm going really slow. I'm gonna speed up here. Here's the payola public notices that the government has to put in here that keeps the paper afloat. Here's some classified ads. Here's everything, but there's actually 14 pages in this one. I can't figure out why really they have a page on like back to school coming up here, but it's not like usually when they go to 14 pages, it's some special advertising thing, and maybe there was some more advertising here, or maybe more. This does seem like an unusual number of these payola ads, like an extra page of them this week for some reason. Okay, so now we're up to some articles on submitted content on Dean Bauer at a UC. This was the finish of that waterfront article that goes on and on. And then we have stuff submitted by the prosecutor's office. Only in Clermont County, the government writes the stories. And basically, Mark Tacolby, I think, is increasingly seen as a horrible, crooked prosecutor. So they probably are trying to do this PR campaign that he's out here busting these perps. Okay. And they're getting these things, getting these people done. But the newspaper, they just print. You love this. They got all these like douche nozzle comments from Tacolby. The victims in this matter can now begin to move on. Okay. You know what Mark Tacolby won't address? Hey, Mark Tacolby, you crooked piece of you know what? You had a officer under investigation for being put on the Brady list, Shane Olson, do a remodeling project while you were supposed to be investigating for you. Did he do good work? I bet you gave you a good price, Mark. Why don't you address that? What a hiding coward Mark Tacolby is. He has never had an opponent election. He has never been in a candidate forum. He won't take any questions. This is our prosecutor. Remember what Sheriff Leahy told me? He supported Mark Tacolby, and then he told me, I thought Mark Tacolby was different than his father. I was wrong. That's what he told me after Mark Tacolby had been in office, like probably about 6 months. Okay. By the way, Mark Tacolby's dad was a crooked lawyer. Okay. Governor DeWine article. Okay. We got this other, you know, press release. No, we don't too late. There's this back to school page. This is why I might have thought that there was a new page. It's what's funny is I love this. We asked and you responded. Your submissions. If you look at this, and hats off to him, I'm not casting aspersion. Almost all these pictures are from Goshen. Okay, so look, you can tell. I don't know if there's some of these pictures where it doesn't say where they're from or what school they're in. That would be, hey, Clermont Sun, that'd be a cool thing to do on a back to school page. If you're going to have pictures like the Aiden, Ethan, and Quentin Painter, what school are they going to? It looks like they're going to thug school based on the picture. But, obviously these ones holding Goshen Warrior signs. But then, there's a few there's one like Merwin's that somebody says a school name, but kind of like, try to have it even, not just Goshen. And the ones that all these pictures where that doesn't say the school. What school are we talking about here? Okay, now that's it. I'm running way behind. It's 9:29. I'm going to go a couple minutes over here because I don't want to give short shrift to the Jungle Gyms ad. Here we go. And I'm going to be honest with you. I did not look at this ad. Like I was running behind. And let's see what we got here. Eggs, $2.75. We already know the formula if you watch this. They have the meats. Their kind of order here. The ethnic and national cuisines coming up. Meats, ethnic. And then I look for what are the hillbilly things. Grater's ice cream, $5.75. I think that's actually a pretty good price. Grater's ice cream is ridiculously expensive. But for Grater's ice cream, that's a pretty good price. And Montgomery and barbecue sauce down here. Okay. Pork tenderloin. Fish with heads on it. Oh, octopus. I'm going to pass on the octopus or the fish with the head on it. Farm fresh produce. I'm just looking. Is there going to be something in here that gets me super excited? The podcast. Sonic freezer bars. I don't know. I know I like. I don't know that I like freezer bars. I'm familiar with freezer bars. I don't know why I need Sonic ones. I guess it's because it's their slushy mixes or something. And Lando Lakes. Where they hey, I love the Lando Lakes things when they say they took away the Indian but kept the land. They took away the Indian and kept the land on this woke, Cracker Barrel. Have you realized there is a systematic libtard destroy everything about American culture? Okay, and under some pretense that somehow it was evil to have a picture of an Indian on Lando Lakes boxes. I don't think so. Nope. But it continues, and the question is, are there some of these people that are useful idiots that really believe, like, does this Cracker Barrel woman really believe she's making Cracker Barrel better? It's so dumb. By the way, there's opportunity for somebody to not be dumb, but they're letting the libtards take over all these places. A lot of times because a lot of the money that's invested in these companies is through things like your retirement plan at work and your 401k, and they're managed by places like BlackRock that are with libtards, and then they are using your good red county money to influence liberal policies at all these companies because they're voting your shares for you. Think about how that. All right, we got the seniors 5% off on Wednesday. Usually odd toys and collectibles. I don't know what Dreams Skimskis are, but it looks like something that should not be manufactured. It looks bizarre. If you knew an adult that had these, you'd be thinking pedo. like it's what are these? I don't know. Somebody can educate me. It does look weird. Um, Disney statues, I'll pass. All right, now we're up to the King of Pop. Let's see what we got here. Pepsi products, $11.99 for a 24 pack. I might have to head over there. Last time I went out, not the last time. One time I was over there, got some soft. I don't drink soft drinks that much, but I got some, and I've been drinking some of them, not too much. But I like soft drinks. I like Mountain Dew and stuff like that. And you got other soft drinks here. And then beer and wine. No natty here. No natty. Usually they have natty every week. I'm waiting for them to have beer so I can stock up for the messes. All right, so that's the Jungle Gyms ad. And remember, I go through that every week because Jungle Gyms pays to have their ad put into the at retail version of the Sun. I don't know if it's in the mailed version of the Sun, but it's omitted from the online version. And I think that Jungle Gym is getting the shaft on that. That should be part of the online edition. So that's why I cover it. Okay. And that is I Read the Clermont Sun so you don't have to. For August 23rd, 2025. Thank you for watching.